When they ate from the tree, now Hashem brought Mavis into the world. Why? Because when they ate from the tree, there wasn't just the overall consciousness of godliness. Now they became self-conscious. Now it became about self. And they had to cover themselves, and they felt bad. It's all about Nefesh Bahamis. It is a result of disconnect from the source. Now a person is dealing with himself. He is engaged with himself instead. That's Mavis. That's the Hepech HaChaim. Yud Zayin, Torah Ohr Mayim. Yud Zayin Marcheshvan. Very significant date. We are still learning, and it's a significant date in terms of the Mabul as well. We are still learning the Mayim Rabim from Parshas Noach, and in Yirtzeh Hashem we will finish next week. But I would say like this, that perhaps tonight, if I may say so, we are reaching this, in terms of the spiritual aspect of the Maimar, tonight is the peak of the Maimar. In terms of the other aspect, that's more of it will be next time. We are on page Parshas Noach, Torah Ohr, page Tes, the main paragraph on the right side of page Tes, which is page 17. If you look at the main paragraph, the line that starts, לפי נפש הבהמיס, לפי שבשורשה למעלה, which is like a little bit below the middle of the big paragraph. The line that starts, לפי שבשורשה למעלה מעלה. It's under נפש הבהמיס and over כמו שכתוב. Beginning now the 5th chapter, the way it was divided by Hasidus Mevoeres, out of 8. So last time we ended by beginning to discuss the Maila of these Mayim Rabim that are called Mei Noach regarding Yisron HaOr Haba Min HaChoshech. The advantage of light that comes out of darkness, that through transforming of darkness Davka, which is the Nefesh HaBahamis, we can come, and Yetzer Hara, we can come to Ahava, which is Bechol Meodecha, with your infinity. And what the Rebbe mentioned is the inyan of Malach HaMaves, which is called by Chazal Tov Meod. That Malach HaMaves is called Tov Meod. Malach HaChaim is called Tov, and Malach HaMaves, the angel of life, is called Tov, and Malach HaMaves, the angel of death, is called Tov Meod. Very good. So even though Malach HaMaves is the opposite of good and light, nevertheless, Dafka through Malach HaMaves, we can come to Ava of Bechol Meodecha, with all your infinity, with all your might. Please mute yourself. And what does it mean really? Thank you. That Avas Hashem, the love to Hashem that one can reach through Yetzer Tov only, through his divine good inclination, has a limitation to it. While the Ava that comes from the opposite, the light, the darkness and Yetzer Hara, is mamash, the Rebbe says, Ava bli gvul, without limit. Why? So really there are two reasons in this Maimar. The first reason, which is mainly chapter 4 that we finished last time, is because when a person is finding himself in Be'eres CRIF bli mayim, as David HaMelech says in Tehillim, in a desolated land in the desert, and he is exhausted and he is thirsty without any mayim. And when we are finding ourselves in these Mayim Rabim, in this world, being challenged by the physical reality and the Yetzer Hara and all the clippers and ungodly forces, we really cry to Havai, like a thirsty person in the desert that is exhaustedly crying to God to be helped. So we learn that from this tremendous distance from Gilui Elokus, when we find ourselves casted into this world, which is a world of darkness in opposition to godliness, that darkness of the distance between the neshama in this world and Hashem is causing the neshama to cry out and to be ignited with a love and a yearning to Hashem, which is bli gvul. And therefore, Tov meod, say Chazal, ze malach hamaves. This is the angel of death. Why? Because it is Davka through that darkness, that distance from the presence of God and the manifestation and the revelation of godliness, that a person is misoyer, is aroused with this tremendous, infinite, unlimited yearning and love to Hashem. So this was the end of chapter 4, meaning that because of the distance that we feel and the thirst as a result of it, when Elokus is hidden in this world, and this world is so challenging from many levels, many aspects, we are born with the yearning to Hashem. We are awakened with the yearning to Hashem, which is not limited, as the love to Hashem that is born out of Yetzer Tov only. But why is it? Still something is missing, the Rebbe will explain. That when we say Yisro Naor min HaChoshech, we don't say Yisro Naor because biglal HaChoshech, mipnei HaChoshech. Chazal say Yisro Naor min HaChoshech. It's really Shlomo HaMelech. Says Yisro Naor min HaChoshech, which means the advantage of light that is created out of darkness, not because of darkness. The previous chapter, chapter 4, is really indicating about this love that it's caused, which is also true, is the distance between the neshama, the way she experiences her reality in this world, in the goof, and in this world, and other clippers and so on. This distance is causing tremendous love, more than any kind of other loves that come from feeling close to Hashem. Okay, but that is not really the full explanation of the expression of Shlomo HaMelech, Yisro Naor haba min HaChoshech. It's not because biglal HaChoshech or mipnei HaChoshech, rather min HaChoshech, from the Choshech. To that point is being addressed now in the 5th chapter, and please look inside. Which is it's a deeper reason why Yisro Naor min HaChoshech. Maybe I should give the Hakdama here. That as known, this is from Chosidis Mevoeres here, as known, all nefashos, all souls, and all powers in this world are rooted in higher worlds. And from the higher spiritual source, they come down. And the shoresh of the nefesh habahamis lemaila in the higher world is very high. The root and the source, the spiritual source of the animal soul, dafka our ego, is very high, higher than the godly soul. Only the way they came down to our reality, the Nefesh HaBahamis goes more and more down, descends lower and lower and lower, until it becomes a Nefesh of Klippa, a Nefesh of an energy of ungodly kind of energy. Unlike the Nefesh HaElokis, the godly soul that remains the way it maintains and the way it is, Chelek Elokam Mima'al Mamash. I just want to make a reservation here that really that's not the ultimate truth, that the Nefesh HaBahamis is higher than the Nefesh HaElokis. It's true within the framework of Seder Ishtalshelus. The way the Nefesh became its own entity, which means now the soul is part of Seder Ishtalshelus, really there in Seder Ishtalshelus, the shores, that's what the Rebbe will teach us now, that the root, the spiritual root of the animal soul, animalistic soul, is higher than the spiritual root of the godly soul. Why? Because the animal soul, animalistic soul, as well as all inyanim, physical matters of this world, material and physical matters of this world, are all rooted in the world of Tohu. And the godly soul is rooted in the world of Tikkun. And the world of Tohu is higher than the world of Tikkun. That's what the Rebbe will teach us. I'm again making the reservation here that this is only within the framework of Seder Ishtalshelus. Ultimately higher than Seder Ishtalshelus, in the ultimate source, of course, the Nefesh HaElokis, the godly soul, is higher than the Nefesh HaBahamis. It's really Chelek Elokam Mima'al Mamash with Atzmus Hashem. But that's the way it is higher than Seder Ishtalshelus. The way it is acquiring its own identity, the neshama, the nefesh, is here. It doesn't differentiate because it's the nefesh. The godly nefesh is its root is lower than the animalistic nefesh, than the ego. And now that will help us to understand how come dealing with the Nefesh HaElokis, that now is, so to speak, trapped in the Nefesh HaBahamis, in the ego, and can only manifest itself through the Nefesh HaBahamis. Lichora, it's seemingly, I mean, this is not the Lashon here, it didn't say it like this, but seemingly this is a horrible jail. But now we will understand that actually it is through the Nefesh HaElokis working through and with and within the Nefesh HaBahamis, and refining, transforming it, that the Nefesh HaElokis is actually ascending to a higher closeness and intimacy with Hashem, more than it was the way before she came down to her body. Vatara Mateva. Our consciousness is being brought up. First it gets strengthened by the Mayim Rabim, but ultimately by dealing with the Mayim Rabim of our own inner Mayim Rabim, of all our animalistic or more self-centered inclinations, as well as the powers around us, as well as the physical options and so on. All this is really ultimately enable us in our consciousness, to be transcending to a level which is way higher than where the Nefesh HaElokis itself, than the godly soul itself can take us. So let's look inside. Why really it is Torah Ohr Mayim from the darkness itself? V'hainu lefi shebeshorsha lemayla mayla, because in her source, the source of whom? the Nefesh HaBahamis, the animalistic soul, in the highest, in its spiritual source, way high. It says lemala mala, it's really very high. Shoresh Nefesh HaBahamis, the root of the Nefesh HaBahamis, Gavoa Yoser Mibchinas Nefesh HaElokis, is higher than the principle of the godly soul. So the reason why Dafka through the Choshech of the Nefesh HaBahamis, which is Malach HaMaves, one can reach a higher level in Avas Hashem, which is Bechol Meodecha, as we learned in the previous chapter, is because the Shorosh of the Nefesh HaBahamis is way higher than the Shorosh of the Nefesh HaElokis. Uchemo shekasuv, as it says in the Chumash Bereshis, our Chumash now, chapter Lamed Vav, Pasuk Lamed Aleph, chapters 36, ואלה המלכים אשר מלכו חולו בארץ אדום לפני מלך לבני ישראל. There in chapter 36 in Bereshis, the Torah states these were the kings that reigned in the land of Edom before the ruling of a king over Bnei Israel. שהוא בחינת נפש האלוקיס. So we have the Malchei, the kings of Edom, which will be representing the Nefesh HaBahamis, the animalistic soul, and the Yetzer Hara, and we have the Melech of Bnei Israel, which represents the divine godly soul, Nefesh HaElokis. So what does it mean? Hasidus and Kabbalah explain what is the inner explanation of Eila Melachim Asher Malchu Be'eretz Edom Lifnei Melech Livnei Israel. So what does it mean that these were the kings that were reigning in Edom before there was a king to Bnei Israel? So we see that there were kings that were reigning, that were ruling before the Bnei Israel's king, Malchei Edom. They have a priority. They were there before Melech Livnei Israel, which means they represent a higher world. רק שעל ידי שבירת הכלים נפלו למטה מטה, כמו שכתוב וימלוך וימס. It's only that through what Kabbalah and Chassidus explain, or calls Shviras HaKelim, the breaking of the vessels, they fell way below, as it says, Vayimloch Vayamas. There, where Bereshit specifies the reigning of each king of the kings of Bnei Edom, each king was ruling, Vayimloch, and then Vayamas, then he died. And then came the Melech of Bnei Israel. The way the Rebbe is explaining it here is that we need to have in mind that our own Nefesh HaBahamis, our own ego, our own sense of self that feels itself separate from the source, including this physical world, all the powers that are playing in this world. All this is coming from a very high level, which is Tohu, the world of Tohu, which preceded the world of Tikkun. But in our reality, we see them as the lowest because they went through the process of Shviras HaKelim, meaning that the high source of all these realities of the Nefesh HaBahamis and the Yetzer Hara and the world and the Klippos and all the physical things and the challenges and the Nisyonis, all these really are rooted in very, very high Shoresh root, but the way they came down to our world is in a way of Vayimloch, but Vayamas. A misa, a mavis, a death, which is also called a nefilah, a fall, spiritually, means when something gets disconnected from its source. And now it doesn't testify about its source anymore. It's not a testimony of it. It hides its source rather than revealing its source. That's called Misa. That's called Mavis. And that's called in Kabbalah Shviras HaKelim. So to the process of Shviras HaKelim, the way they fell down, yes, the Nefesh HaBahamis is selfish and it's the source of all kinds of bad midos, and the all kinds of material things and powers in this world are very seductive, and they bring a person to a very low place. But now we begin to see why is it that the Rebbe opens the Maimar with this declaration that, you know what, this Mayim Rabim cannot put out and cannot extinguish this love to Hashem. And at first it looks like, what are you talking about? Okay, so physical Daigos Parnasa cannot put out the love. What is one has to do to the other? Oh, now we can understand, because all these Mayim Rabim of the Nefesh HaBahamis, the Yetzer Hara, the inner ungodly powers and the outer ungodly powers, whatever they are rooted in a very high source, higher than the Nefesh HaElokis. Oh, now we can understand why we need to be concerned. We could be concerned that these Mayim Rabim, because they are rooted higher than our Yetzer Tov, the Nefesh HaElokis, now we can be concerned that maybe they do have the power to extinguish and to hide the Nefesh HaElokis and to overcome it to such an extent that it will lose any impact and any significance in our reality anymore. God forbid, Hashem Yishmor. We really had a good reason to think so. Knowing now that the Nefesh HaBahamis and the Yetzer Hara and all these negative forces come from Olam HaTohu, which is higher than Tikkun, from where the Yetzer Tov comes. So now we can understand why we can be concerned that this Teva will drown in the water of the Mabul. God forbid. And that means we will learn soon in the next parak that the Teva is Teva's Noach, and we mentioned it already. Teva means a word. It means also the ark, like Noach Teva, a box, an ark, the Teva. But Teva also means, Rashi Tevas means the head of the abbreviation, the head of the words. Teva means a word. So that means that now we understand how the Nefesh HaBahamis and the Yetzer Hara and all the temptations of this and all the powers of this world, how they are really a real threat to our Teva, to our consciousness. Our consciousness is made out of words, to our inner conversation, to our perception, to our consciousness and awareness. They can take over because they are rooted in Tohu. And that's why we see how the Yetzer Hara is so seductive and at times takes over and overpowers us. And so too, all kinds of worries of Olam Hazeh, mainly the worry of sustenance, of Parnasa, as we discussed. To this, the Rebbe has to really reassure us and say, yes, even though these Mayim Rabim of Tirdos HaParnasa and the Nefesh HaBahamis and so on and so forth are rooted in Tohu, which has Oros Rabim, Oros Merubim. And we know that Tohu has Oros Merubim and Kelim Muatim. Tikkun has Kelim Merubim, a lot of Kelim, but the Oros are less. But Tohu has Oros Merubim, lots of lights, less Kelim. That's why the word Shviras HaKelim, that's not the topic now. But that's why we understand why the Mayim Rabim, which come from the Oros Merubim of Tohu, can be a real threat. And the Rebbe will reassure us that eventually the Rebbe will reassure us this is not the case, because of the true, ultimate truth of the fact that the Nefesh HaElokis, really the way that it is above Seder Ishtalshelus, its true source, its ultimate root and source is really in the essence of God Himself, and therefore it has the power to overcome and transform and refine, transform and turn over the Nefesh HaBahamis. So yes, the way, now we are in the text, the way these kings were ruling, they are very powerful. But the way they came down, they are the lowest things in our reality. אבל בשורשם, but in their source, הם למעלה, מעלה מבחינת נפש האלוקיס. But the nefesh HaBahamis and the reality of this world, the physical material world, has a source which at nefesh HaBahamis higher, way higher than the godly source. So, since the shorosh of nefesh HaBahamis is higher in the spiritual worlds than the shorosh of the nefesh האלוקis, ולזאת, therefore, גם כמו שנפלו למטה, even when they fell down to become an animalistic soul, יש להם תגבורת על נפש האלוקיס. Because they have a tigboros, at times, they have more power than the godly soul. This is, by the way, why you see also that at times, human being needs the assistance of animals. Animals that have more power. If a person has to plow his field by himself, that's very little power. But if he takes an ox, then now with the power of a shor, of an ox. And so too, a horse can bring you to places, or donkey, that a human by feet, by walking, would not be able to reach so easily, and so on and so forth. The power of animals in the physical world, and the power of Nefesh HaBahamis in the psychological and spiritual world is very, very intense. And therefore, it can serve as a threat. Why? מפני ששורשם הוא מבחינת מלוכה. Because they are rooted in, as it says in the Chumash, Malchei Edom, the kings of Edom, which means the union of kingship, of Melucha, שהוא מבחינת Isnasus, like a king that overpowers everyone and subdues everyone under him. The Melucha of Elokus. So the power, the spiritual power of the animal soul in its source is very high and very intense. וגם, from this reason, האדם מקבל חיוס מבחינת בהמות ומאכלים. A person receives energy from animals and from different foods, plants, and even inanimate. ובלעדם אינו יכול לחיות. And without them, animals, those beings from this world that are below him, which are animals and plants and inanimate minerals and so on, water, without them, אינו יכול לחיות. He cannot live without and exist without them. מה שאין כן המאכלים אינם צריכים אל האדם. Which is not the case with the food itself. All those foods that a man needs in order to exist, they don't need him. And a shor, an ox, doesn't need to eat a person in order to exist. The animals don't need the person specifically in order to exist, and plants don't need him in order to exist in terms of consuming him, and certainly not inanimate. But humans need the lower levels of existence of animals and other creatures. וכל זה, all these, מפני שבשורש שורשם למעלה הם גבוהים הרבה מבחינת הנשמות. Because in the ultimate root, in the spiritual worlds, they are higher, way higher than the neshamos, than the souls. So here the Rebbe is adding that just as the shoresh of the Nefesh HaBahamis is higher than the shoresh of the Nefesh HaElokis, so too the shoresh of all the Dvarim Gashmim, all the physical things, It is higher than the shoresh of Nefesh Adam, of the soul of a human. And this is the reason why a human has to consume all those other levels of creatures in this world. Belezos, and therefore, על ידי ירידת והסלבשוס נפש האלוקיס בנפש הבאמיס דווקא. It is dafka through the descent of the nefesh elokis, the godly soul, to be invested in the animalistic soul. לעסוק בטירדוס ומחשבוס הפרנסה בעניינים גשמיים. So this is like a double darkness. Number one, the nefesh elokis is to operate through the nefesh abahamis. Now she has to be invested in the animalistic soul. Number two, she needs to be engaged in the worries and troubles and thoughts of parnasa, of sustaining oneself, binyanim gashmim, with physical matters, shehem anikaim mayim rabim hanal, which they are called these mayim rabim, these enormous waters of the flood. But Davka, because of the shoresh of all these inyanim that is so high, the nefesh ba'amis, as well as the physical matters, subjects in this world, Davka, when the godly soul is dealing with these inyanim, yechola lavo libchinas ahavta or ava bechol meodecha. Davka, then the nefesh elokis can reach Ava, which is infinite, which is unlimited, bechol meodecha, with all your might, shehu bli gvul kanal, which is unlimited, bli gvul, no boundaries, shehu madrega hayoter gavoa meheyosa kodem yeridasa beguf, which this is a higher level than the neshama was holding by before she came down from Gan Eden to the body. Now, being in the body can bring her to a higher level than before she came. That when the neshama then, before she came to the body and this world, to deal with the Mayim Rabim, was benefiting and enjoying only the radiance, only the ziv of the Shekhinah, but not the Shekhinah itself. And this aliyah is because of the shoresh of the Mayim Rabim, of all the tirdos haparnasa and yanim gashmim, which are rooted in a very high level of elokus. And therefore, when the shoresh of the nefesh habahamis is misgale, is revealed in the Adam, in the person, and the shoresh of the Mayim Rabim of this world, that gives birth to a Ava, to Hashem, which is unlimited. And how do you reveal the high shoresh of the Nefesh HaBahamis? How do you reveal the high source, the high root of the animalistic soul, which is higher than the godly soul? And how do you reveal the high source and root of all the physical matters of this world? והיינו על ידי איסקפיה ואיסהפכה חשוכה דווקא. It is through iskafia, the subduing and the transforming of the choshech dafka, of the darkness dafka, שהוא בחינת יסרון האור שמתוך החושך כנ"ל, which is the advantage of light, that light that comes from within that darkness, not because of, but within the darkness. This high shoresh of the Nefesh HaBahamis is revealed in the person through the avoda of his kafia, when he subdues the Nefesh HaBahamis, and when he is hapcha, when he transforms the Nefesh HaBahamis, the darkness of the Nefesh HaBahamis to light. That if it's the Nefesh HaBahamis, which is really a desiring power, will desire Elokus. So when the godly soul subdues the animalistic soul and then eventually transform it from darkness to light, that reveals this shoresh, this root and source of the animalistic soul that is hidden in its darkness, the way it appears, that it opposes divinity, opposes Elokus. Now its shoresh is revealed, and because of that, since Tohu is the world of Bligvul, is a world of infinity, therefore now the Ava Bechol Meodecha, the Ava, the infinite life to God, love to God, which is unlimited, is now being revealed in the heart and in the consciousness and the mind of the person consciously. And why is it? לפי ששורשם למעלה גבוה ממדרגת נפש האלוקיס כנ"ל. Why working with them, the nefesh habahamis, the animalistic soul, and the physical matters of this world, why does that elevate the godly soul? Is because their root, lemala, above, is higher than the level of the nefesh haelokis, as we learn, רק שנפלו למטה. Only that they fell down, as we learned, כמו שכסו וימלוך וימסכו לו. As it says in the Chumash, that each king, each Mida, each Melech of Malche Edom, of the Nefesh HaBahamis, ruled, reigned, and then died. That means that this is the death, which means the Shviras HaKelim, where they fell down to become now ungodly forces. And through Iskafia, what do we create? Na'asat Chiyas HaMeisim. Through Iskafia, through subduing our Nefesh HaBahamis and Yetzer Hara, and eventually transforming it, we actually create Chiyas HaMeisim. We are creating the resurrection of the dead. We are undoing, we are fixing the Shviras HaKelim, when we reveal the shoresh of everything, and that which before was hiding over Elokus the most and appeared so low, now is shining through its revealed source and revealed root. And this is called Chiyas HaMeisim, that substitutes that Vayimloch Vayamas. So to conclude this, we just finished the fifth chapter of this Maimar, and to conclude, let's make a very quick Hazara over this chapter, which is the depth of the reason why Dafka, through the avoider with the Nefesh HaBahamis, with the animalistic soul, with one's ego and selfish drives, one reach to the Ava of Bechol Meodecha, to this infinite love that you cannot reach just working with your Yetzer Tov. Why is it? Because the Shoresh of Nefesh HaBahamis is higher than the Shoresh of Nefesh HaElokis. The Shoresh of the animalistic soul, the root of the animalistic soul, is higher than the root of the divine soul. Again, only within Seder Ishtalshelus. And this is the inyan of Malche Edom, the kings of Edom that ruled, reigned, and then died before Meloch Melech, before the ruling of kings of Bnei Israel. So meaning that those Malche Edom were subjected, which means the kings of the world of Tohu were subjected to a fall, to a death, to a Shviras HaKelim. And that now, here they appear as the Nefesh HaBahamis and the low seductive powers of this world and so on and so forth. But now we understand why Nefesh HaBahamis has the power to, at times, to overcome, to overpower the Nefesh HaElokis. And at times, our Yetzer Tov surrenders to the Nefesh HaBahamis. But therefore, when the Nefesh HaElokis is working with the Nefesh HaBahamis to transform the darkness of the animalistic soul to Kedusha and to light. Now we accomplished Yisro Naor Min HaChoshech because of the Shoresh of the Nefesh HaBahamis, which is higher. And now we are causing Tchias HaMeisim, the resurrection of the dead. And this Yisro Naor Min HaChoshech is what it means in terms of our experience, is we reach this Ava Bilti Mugbeles, that's unlimited love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a manner of Bechol Meodecha. This is basically the Torah of this 5th chapter. Now look at the beginning of next chapter, chapter. Zeu Maimar Raboseinu Zichronam Livracha. Now, the Rebbe will translate this peak that we reached in understanding the Maila of working with the Nefesh HaBahamis and Olam Hazeh. The Rebbe will translate it to how it manifests in avodah of tefillah, of davening, because davening is when you feel your emotions to Hashem, right? Davening is when you feel Ahavas Hashem. That's the purpose of davening, to feel Ahavas Hashem. So the Rebbe will address the people who are involved with Olam Hazeh, which are basically the Baalei Asakim, those who are involved in business with this world, not those that are secluded in the Ohale Torah, inside the tents of learning Torah all day, but those who are dealing with business and with the world and so on, the Mayim Rabim. They might think, that, says the Rebbe, that their tefillah is so lower, and what they can reach in their tefillah is so lower than the Yoshvei Oil, than those who are learning all day long, those who are present in the tents of Torah all day long. But now the Rebbe says, no, now that you understand the shoresh of the Mayim Rabim, you need to understand that your tefillah, the tefillah of those who deal with Mayim Rabim, could reach very, very high level, to the extent that the Rebbe will encourage the Baalei Asakim, those who are in business, that during the week have no time to really daven be'arichus, because they have to rush and go to their business. But the Rebbe says, when comes Shabbos, Dafka they should lead the davening of the congregation. Dafka encourages the Baalei Asakim to daven be'arichos and to lead the davening. Why? Because all week long they were dealing with the Mayim Rabim, and therefore the love that can now be experienced in their tefillah can be way more b'chol meodecha than the love of those people who basically were working with the Yetzer Tov all week long. And so too, the Rebbe says, we should appreciate our daily love, which is compared to the Shabbos of every day. Every day we have the tefillah of Shabbos, which is once a week, but every day we have the Shabbos of that day, and that's when we daven. And the Rebbe will explain it more at length. Let's look inside. וזהו מאמר רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, יפה שעה אחת בתשובה ומעשים טובים בעולם הזה, מכל חיי עולם הבא כנ"ל. And this is the statement of רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, that 1 hour of tshuva and good deeds in this world is nicer than the entire life of the next world. Seemingly, if you look at the statement, יפה שעה אחת בתשובה בעולם הזה מכל חיי עולם הבא, it's not understood why it says here tshuva and ma'asim tovim. Why not Torah and ma'asim tovim? That makes sense. 1 hour of Torah and ma'asim tovim, which means what's ma'asim tovim? Mitzvahs. So 1 hour Torah and mitzvahs in this world is yafa, is nicer in one way than entire life in the world to come, in the next world. But now, instead, the Chazal say that it's yafa sha'ah achat shel tshuva and ma'asim tovim, not Torah and ma'asim tovim, not Torah and mitzvahs, but tshuva and ma'asim tovim. Why? Now we can understand. Because now we understand, according to the 5th chapter that we just ended and learned, that the klalus ha'avoida in this world, which is the avoida mitoch hachoshech, is avoida within darkness. When a person finds himself engaged in inyanim gashmim and in worries of parnasa and all the sustenance and dealing with this world. And nevertheless, even though these inyanim can be really experienced as a big flood, nevertheless he is awakening to bring himself closer to his creator. This is called tshuva, returning. And this is the reason of this special power of this work, in this avoida, in this service, in this world, ma'asim tovim, in comparison to the reward of the neshama in olam haba. It's dafka in this world that one can reach the yisron ha'or min ha'choshech, ava bilti mugbeles, love which is infinite, is unlimited to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And more than that, the Rebbe is teaching us. The Ikar Maila of Tshuva, the Rebbe says, Tshuva Ma'asim Tovim. The Ikar Maila of Tshuva is not only because of the Ava, this unlimited Ava that is awakened in a person because of the Helem and Hester of the Nefesh HaBahamis and the worries of the Parnasa that take him away so far and give birth to such a tzimah and such a thirst to Hashem. But as we just learned, because of the revelation exposing the shoresh of Nefesh HaBahamis itself, through the avoida of his kafia and his hapcha. That the choshech, the darkness of Nefesh HaBahamis, now transforms to good. And this is the inyan of tshuva. That's why Chazai say, tshuva and ma'asim tovim. The whole thing of bringing tshuva, bringing things back, returning, everything returning to its source, to its root. This yisron ha'or haba min ha'choshech, this is the ilu that a person can advance, the person reach in his service in this world. Velazos, look inside, nikreu mayim rabim hanal mei Noach. And therefore, for this reason, because of Yisron Ha'or, that the real highest light comes through transforming darkness itself to light, now we will understand why these Mayim Rabim, which we ask in the beginning of the Maimar, are called the waters of Noach by Yeshayahu, by the comforting Navi of Yeshayahu, the Navi of Nechama. He calls the Mei HaMabul Mei Noach. We wondered why. Noach means rest, tranquility, Shabbos, Naicha, the Naicha of the spirit, the Shal Menucha. So now we understand, not only that they cause the Naicha of Rucha, but they themselves are Mei Noach. Why? Shenasa mihem tevas Noach. That from these Mei Noach, the Teva of Noach is created. What is the Tevas Noach? Shubchinas Tevos Atfila. This avoida of dealing with these Mayim Rabim, this avoida, this service colors your whole davening. It creates the quality and the nature of tefillah in this world. And it creates the Tevos of the tefillah. Animates and enlivens them, כמו שכתוב, בוא אתה וכל ביתך אל הטבע. As it says, The instruction that Hashem gave, the directive that Noach received from Hashem, that in order for you to rescue yourself from these Mayim Rabim, from Mei HaMabul, Bo ata v'chol b'ischa el hateva chulu. You and your whole house, your home, should come, your whole family members should come into the Teva. As known, the Tevas Noach, according to the inner meaning, the spiritual meaning of the Ark of Noach, indicates the Tevas, the words of Tefillah. As the Baal Shem Tov says, Bo el hateva, the Baal Shem Tov was teaching us, and we know that the Rebbeim bring it in many Maimarim, that Bo ata v'chol b'ischa el hateva. What does it mean that Hashem says to Noach, come you and all your family members into the Teva, that the person has to bring himself into the words of Tefillah. Ata, you, v'chol b'ischa, and all your powers. Bring them all you and all your faculties, bring your whole self into the words of Tefillah. That all your thoughts and all your feelings should now be invested in the words of davening. And just as literally, simply, the entering to Teva, the Ark of Noach, Tevas Noach, was because of Mei Noach, of the Mayim of the Mabul, so too in Ruchnius, that Davka through the Mayim Rabim, of all the warriors of Parnasa, Mei Noach, one can really enter properly into the words of davening, into the words of Tefillah, because it's only through the Mayim Rabim that a person can reach in his davening, in the Tevos of Tefillah, the level of Ava b'chol meodecha. When you daven with love of b'chol meodecha, this is Ava bilti mugbeles, as Yitron Ohr min hachoshech. Then your davening is a completely different davening. So the inner meaning of all this is that from this Mayim Rabim, what is made, what is created is the Teva of Noach. This Mayim Rabim creates this special davening, because Shoresh of the Tirdos HaParnasa, which is higher than the Shoresh of the Nefesh HaElokis, now is adding a Yisron Or, an additional light to the Nefesh. Now it's me'orer this Ava, which is unlimited and infinite. Now you can imagine with that love, with that fire, with that love, what kind of davening the tevas, the tefillos of Noach, of this teva, of this tefillah that comes as a result of Mei Noach, is now, what kind of this tefillah is now, what kind of quality, what kind of vitality. Vezehu vayigberu hamayim meod. I'm almost done. And this is what it says in Parshas Noach, that vayigberu hamayim meod chulu. The water, that at first the water of the Mabul threatens to drown the people, and then eventually they went higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. 15 אמה מלמעלה גבוה מים. 15 amos, 15 cubits, the water came higher than the world and the highest mountains of the world. שהוא בחינת תגבורס נפש הבהמיס על בחינת נפש האלוקיס. What does it mean when at first the water of the flood was increasing and rising and threat to drown everyone? That means the overcoming of the animalistic soul over the nefesh elokis, over the godly soul. When a person is drowning in esek parnasa v'inyanim agashmim, When a person drowns himself and his consciousness and all his powers in the reality of survival and sustenance and dealing with all the physical matters and powers of this world. They really threat to drown us. And this is also the inner meaning in what the psukim in the Chumash tell us, that first it says, Vayigberu hamayim meod, gavru hamayim. First it says that the Mayim Rabim, this Mei Mabul, the flood was overcoming, overpowering, increasing. They came over the Teva, higher than the Teva. And in the Avodah Ruchnis, it means the overpowering of the Nefesh HaBahamis over the Nefesh HaElokis. Because of Tirdos HaParnasa, because of Inyanim Gashmim. We know it's not easy to lead, let's say, a Shabbos meal, talking about Inyanim Shebekdusha all the time. We know how hard it is. No matter what, poops, before we know it, we speak about something which is not necessarily Shabbosdik. Why? Because Nefesh HaBahamis is very powerful. This world and all the politics is very powerful. And therefore they threaten to overcome the Nefesh HaElokis. אך על ידי זה נעשה אחר כך יתרון אור חולו כנ"ל. But דווקא through this we have the additional light and the very additional, not only in quantity but in quality as well, that comes as a result of transforming this choshech. וזהו, and this is what it means ברוחניוס, ותלך הטבע על פני המים דווקא. That it says that eventually, actually the teva was going on top of the water, על פני המים. ותרם הטבע, the teva was uplifted. And now it was going on top of the surface of the water, rather than being threatened by the water to be drowned by the water. שעל ידי המים דווקא, what does it mean? That ותרם הטבע, the teva was uplifted. That dafka through the threatening waters of Mayim Rabim of this world, dafka mis'alos tevos hatfila ve'ola lemala mala kanal. The words of tefillah are now being raised, and the davening of such a person is now ascending higher and higher and higher. Ava b'chol meodecha. Very special extra light that cannot be achieved otherwise. וזהו תעוש הבעלי עסקים, says the Rebbe. Almost done. And this is the mistake that business people make, שבדעתם שאין יכולים להספלל כל כך כמו יושבי אוהלים. This is a mistake that business people think, that they cannot daven as high and as well as Yoshvei Ohalim, people who learn all day and are not involved with the world. They think, oh, I cannot get to such love like people who are learning all day. And therefore my davening is not as high as theirs. But the Rebbe says it's a mistake. כי אדרבה, נהפוך הוא, it's the contrary, שהם יכולים להתפלל יותר. They can daven even more, כי יסון האור הוא מתוך החושך דווקא חולו. That even though it looks like it's lower, but really, since we understand now the nature of יסון האור הבא מן החושך, now we can see that the tefillah of Baalei Asakim, the tefillah, the davening, the prayer of business people, people who deal with the world all day and nevertheless seek to be close to Hashem, their prayer is now higher than Yoshvei Ohalim. And not only because they were in the darkness and they felt far and therefore they are yearning to Elokus. It's because they are dealing with those matters that their shorish is now being revealed, and the shorish is very high. וזהו שנקראים מי נוח. Now I'm finishing. And this is why the waters of the flood are called the waters of Noach, Naicha de Rucha, the tranquility, the resting, and the calmness of the spirit, Shubchinas HaShabbos, which is the inyan of Shabbos, כמו שכתוב, כי בו שבס מכל מלאכתו. Noach is Naicha, Menucha, Shabbos Menucha. Now we understand the connection between May Noach and Mayim Rabim of Tirdos HaParnasa to the inyan of Shabbos, that Noach is Leshon Menucha, like resting from work, like Shabbos, Vayishbos, Noach, because this work, this service of transforming the warriors of Parnasa from something which is disturbing Avodas Hashem to something which adds additional light and additional Kedusha in Avodas Hashem, this is the inyan of Shabbos. And now the Rebbe, next Shir Hashem, will go deeper into that and explain to us that this elevation, which is similar to Shabbos, actually has two stages, the Shabbos Tata and Shabbos Ilah. There are two types of Noach, of Naicha, two types of Menucha, of Shabbos. There's the lower Shabbos and the higher Shabbos, which is connected to the Geula Amitis V'Ashlema, and that we will conclude with Mir Hashem next week. What is the inyan of Hepech HaChaim? What's the inyan of Mavis, of Misa, of death? When the body now is separate from its source of life. When did Mavis come to the world? When they ate from the tree, right? When they ate from the tree, now Hashem brought Mavis into the world. And why? Because when they ate from the tree, there wasn't just the overall consciousness of godliness. Now they became self-conscious. Now it became about self. And they had to cover themselves, and they felt bad. It's all about Nefesh Bahamis. My self-image, my feelings about myself, my guilt, my not guilt, all these things. Blame me, blame at you. All these things of Nefesh Bahamis now came about. And what is it as a result of? It is a result of disconnect from the source. Now instead of focusing on the source, so to speak, and being just a conduit of Megale, the root, now a person is dealing with himself. He's engaged with himself instead. That's Mavis. That's the Hepech HaChaim. So when we are revealing the shorish of this self, that is so selfish and so seductive and so overpowering and so self-absorbed and whatever, and so passionate, and whatever we know about the Nefesh Bahamis. When we reveal its source, that's like Tchias HaMeisim. We are bringing it back to life, to its true life, not to its fake life, to its death, to the way it appears, low and lacking divinity and lacking true life. What's true life? Elokus. But now when you reveal its shoresh through Iskafia and Ishapcha, then that is now affecting the tefillah in such a way that, what is tefillah? Tefillah is a time when the heart connects with God. Now a Baal Esek that davens and chooses the intimacy with Hashem, in spite of and together with all his engagements in Olam Hazeh and the challenges to his Yetzer Hara, Nefesh Bahamis, and all this, now he stands to daven. He davens now with the power of the shoresh of all those inyanim of Nefesh Bahamis and the world and the business and all these things. Now his tefillah is Vatara Mateva. The words of his tefillah are so high because he is now vitalized. His davening is vitalized with his infinite love, unlimited love, more than a Yoshev Oil can achieve.